Welcome back. Okay, so news of the day video before the games get started tonight, and it's because there's some pretty big news out there. The Maple Leafs have got themselves some cap wiggle room because they've put Mitch Marner on long-term injured reserve. Means he has to miss a number of games between now and when he'd be eligible to return, but it does give them cap space to move guys up, move guys down, and maybe make a deal. So we'll see what the Toronto Maple Leafs do with the cap flexibility that provides them, and it does lead one to wonder, so how bad is this injury for Marner that they're not really talking about? What's going on here? So, Marner on the LTIR currently. We'll see how the Leafs do, minus Mitch Marner. And the biggest news, arguably, for today, although I put the Marner one on the top because that's kind of big news, of course, but Ben Bishop. Jim Nill has confirmed what we all kind of suspected this morning. It was odd for them to call Bishop up after a conditioning stint and leave him on long-term injured reserve. The knee, which he's been trying to rehab for a while, is not doing well. A lot of eyebrows were raised when Braden Holtby was signed by Dallas. I believe that when they signed him, I said it might be a sign Bishop wasn't coming back. I believe I said that. And there's been that concern too. The longer that somebody's out with an injury, especially, Bishop, 35 years of age, the concern becomes, is he coming back at all? And Nill is saying his career is finished. Said that this morning. So it's his knee, and he'll stay on the LTIR. His contract runs to the end of 2023, and he's not going to come back. So that clears up questions about when they signed Holtby were there. But again, it definitely looked like that might be a backup in case Bishop doesn't come back, and he's not going to. Waiver news. Michael Del Zotto was put on waivers yesterday, and he clears today. One question mark for Pierre Dorion is that he's signed Del Zotto this year. He signs Matt Murray last year. Neither of those signings have worked out. Del Zotto had a good year last year for Columbus, but his numbers were skewed a bit by what was an excellent start for Columbus last year, and he kind of tailed off towards the end. And so for Del Zotto, he's cleared waivers. We'll see if maybe they make a trade now, because if you acquire Del Zotto, since he's cleared waivers, you can put him straight into the American Hockey League. You do not have to waive him again. So we'll see if maybe that opens up the market to a trade for a team that's thinking long-term and how they may need an experienced defenseman to come up later. But Del Zotto at this point has cleared waivers, and I guess he's headed to Belleville. Tyler Toffoli. So Montreal fans, sure, why not? He's out. He's had hand surgery. He's going to be out 8 weeks. So that's 2 months. So he'd be coming back just in time for the Olympic break. The interesting thing too, actually, I'll talk about this at the end. Remind me, okay? But yeah, Toffoli out for 8 weeks, so he'd come back likely just before the Olympic break would happen, right? So it has not been a great year for Toffoli, and this just adds to that. So this is something Frank Saravelli reported yesterday, which it slipped by me, and I apologize, but I'll talk about it now. The players have a $1 billion debt to the National Hockey League. So the shortfall in revenues due to the league being shut down and the empty arenas and everything, the expectation is, with revenues being where they are now, and revenues are up, revenues are doing pretty well. You have the new TV deals and everything. The expectation is that debt will be paid within the next 3 seasons. So this year and the 2 seasons that follow. And then we would see the salary cap skyrocket after that. It can only go up by $1 million a year until that debt is paid off. And of course, we've had all these discussions over the last couple of years about the escrow and how high that is because of, again, all the shutdowns and the empty buildings and everything. But yeah, so it looks like 3 years from now, we should see some pretty hefty salaries being out there. So look at guys who have signed the bridge deals and say they're going to cash in. And for guys who signed long-term contracts, those deals may end up being bargains at a later date. So it is interesting to see how all this works. And 3 years from now, we may have a very interesting time when it comes to free agency. I would think we're going to start seeing more guys above the 10 million mark. Once everything's all paid and the cap starts skyrocketing, we'll see more players making more than 10 million a year. Drieger is off the IR for Seattle, which means that Decord has been sent down to the AHL. Goaltending has been a problem for Seattle this year. It was expected to be their strength. For most good expansion teams, goaltending is their strength. And for Seattle, it's been a problem. So while their overall stats have been very good, shots against have been very solid, and they're generating opportunities, they're just not, they haven't had the saves often enough. They were starting to get that. That was with the winning streak, and now it started trending in the wrong direction again. So the Olympics, because the opt-out period is now less than a month away, this is becoming a major conversation. And one part of the conversation is that there's a 3-week quarantine required by the Chinese government for a positive test. Now think about this for a second. You're 3 days before the end of your Olympic break, right? And you're ready to go home. You have a positive test. You are now in China for the next 3 to 5 weeks. It can be 5 weeks. You have to test negative twice. Now, if players are ready to come home and then they get stuck there in quarantine, they do not get paid their NHL salary when the NHL gets started back up if they're not available to play. So now they're losing NHL money as well. And if they're symptomatic, they have to go to a Chinese hospital as well. So there are concerns. The NHL union starting to get kind of wary of this. There's going to be further communications and clarifications of what this is going to look like. But players aren't big fans of this. Remember, during the bubble playoffs, where they could leave their hotel, they could go out, play soccer, and do this kind of stuff, they didn't like that. This is going to be a lot more locked down than that. This is basically you're in your hotel, you're playing hockey, you're practicing. That's it. The appeal may not be there. The other interesting part is, and this was speculated on yesterday by Sportsnet. So we have the 3-week break baked in, right? Buildings kind of like the way that the dates are lined up right now. So the NHL's shadow schedule that we've heard about, that if they don't go to the Olympics, they have this other schedule they have ready to go. Might be kind of hard to get that other schedule to work because building dates have already been filled up by concerts and all these other things because buildings want their revenues back. So they've already filled up a lot of dates. So what may end up happening, and David Amber's like, well, we don't want that. And I thought, I do. We may end up getting a 3-week break in February, even if the players don't go to the Olympics. I heard that and I thought, that's kind of fun. The reason I say this is because a lot of players who are banged up right now and who are going to be banged up once you get to February, they're going to have 3 weeks off to get healthy. And then we're going to get some really intense hockey for the last 2 months of that schedule where teams are going to be a lot healthier than they otherwise would be. I kind of think that sounds like a fun way to do it. And we'll see. But again, we're about a month away from a deadline. And after that deadline, technically the NHL can still back out, but then they have some financial penalties. They have until January 10th to get out before those financial penalties start to take effect. But it is up to the players. The owners, Gary Bettman, they want to make sure that they give the players every opportunity to go. If they don't, it'll be the union that says no. And right now, I still think, and I know that I think it was on TSN, they had, a couple people put it at a 25% chance, maybe 40, maybe 50% chance. I'm more on like the 30% chance that I think they're going. There's still a chance, of course, that they'll want to go. I would really like to see the NHL, if they don't go, announce that they're going to do a World Cup of Hockey this coming summer. I think that would be a nice gesture to the players to say, all right, so you guys, if you're not going to be able to go, we'll have a World Cup of Hockey and we'll play it in Vegas this summer. Or if people say it's too hot in Vegas to play during the summer, which it's not really, but because it's a dry heat, right? But we can figure out a venue and play some World Cup of Hockey if that would help the players at all with feeling better about their decision. And we haven't had a World Cup of Hockey in a while, so I think it might be kind of fun if we saw another one. Be a chance to see some brand new teams. And not do the 22 and under thing. Have something else instead. The Team North America thing was just weird. The Team Europe thing was odd too. But that was more of a, we want to get Kopitar in there and we don't have enough Slovenians, so we'll have a Team Europe. All right, there you go. Let me know your thoughts as we get set for tonight's action. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. And yeah, I will talk to you again soon.